Alright, we've got one box here to open up. There was another one that arrived. I was just trying to think if I wanted to try to do it with my hands or not, but it's been difficult. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not getting good angles on it. Let's get it in my right arm like that. Do it from up here, and then there we go. What was I talking about? I don't remember. Let's put these here, make sure there's nothing else in this box. Then we'll add 2 more DVDs on top of that. Well, one's a DVD, the other one's a Blu-ray. And then before we continue, we've got non-anime stuff. So, I thought I mentioned this. So this is another oppai mousepad. It actually came in a box, imported from Japan, something. I mean, this would almost make you think that it's got nipples showing, but that's really about it. It's cute, but, you know, I guess I'm leaving it in the box for now, because it stores well. And then I got a Shantae and the 7 Sirens. This is the limited run games Nintendo Switch version. We'll actually take a peek at the inside of this, because I have looked at it and I've removed the packaging that made it that everything is being held in. So this is not its original packaging, but still seems like interesting to do. So let's see, I thought I confirmed. Anyways, this is interesting. I think what's going on here with this is there's these 2 blue plastic things, and you put them on there and you stand this somewhere and you can put a card on there, and then you've got cards like this which seem to be part of like a card game or something. Don't know, I haven't opened it, but it's interesting that there's little stuff like this. This looks like a Game Boy or Game Boy Color cartridge. I'm not sure if it's a real one. I should probably take a closer look at the whatever the fuck I did for that. Oh, this is a newsletter thing, which it is what it is. It's whatever. We've got a soundtrack. You know, it's always good to have audio. You have the game. I put the collectible card in there with her window looking like it's from Super Smash Brothers. And this turns out to be actually a steel cover version for it. You can see there's a place for the cartridge and the manual there, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, I tend to not keep these in steel covers. And then we've got a poster, which, you know, you can see part of a cutesy girly thing there. And this is not anime, but whatever. And then on the other side you have all these characters upside down. They're not actually upside down, they just need to be. You know, these are the Shantae classic characters, and these appear to be... Are they jeans? I don't remember. And, you know, the box was pretty cool, but, you know, let's just get all this stuff back in there so that it's being held, and we can do the thing that why most people are actually here, which is the anime DVDs. But, you know, things like this are an interesting distraction, I guess. There we go. So, you can see at the top here, I have One Piece Season 10 Voyage 3. And there's no time to catch a breath. So we've got 2 discs, which, you know, are your pretty standard One Piece discs. As you can tell, this is already open because my Friday friend, you know, I prioritized watching this, and then I would consider it a good thing because I didn't actually watch anything else. We've got Inuyasha with Miroku? No, Miroku's the monk. Why am I forgetting the name of Inuyasha's brother? So it was a dangerous name, but not like bad guy dangerous, but more like, oh, he's the bad boy of the series. Which says a lot considering how much of a bad boy Inuyasha is. Not to be confused with Sit Boy. But, yeah. Anyways, we've got Inuyasha set something. 3. That's a 3. You can tell because it said 3 on it. Take a look on the inside. We just got 4 discs. Sesshomaru. I'm pretty sure that was his name, but right now I'm feeling like I don't trust my own memory. Next up we have Cautious Hero, which is actually the hero is overpowered but overly cautious, which sounds fun. This is probably, I probably will fire this up. You know how I like isekai, and this sounds like it. Could be good, could be bad, but it sounds like the idea is, oh, we've made somebody overly powerful. The overly powerful part kind of gives it away. I'm not sure if everything here sells me on it definitely being good, but that it really comes down to execution. Let's try to get this all out so we can take a peek on the inside, because we have here the complete series. Regions A and B, English dub, special features, promo videos, commercials, text lists, opening and ending, songs. And this feels thick because this is Blu-ray and DVD, so that makes sense. Blu-ray 1, Blu-ray 2, DVD 1, DVD 2, bonus disc 1. Is it a drama CD? Bonus disc 2. English version. So we've got Japanese and English versions of a drama disc, which is interesting because I've gotten plenty of drama discs, but I think they tend to be Japanese only. So I've only seen that they existed, but otherwise didn't listen to them. Okay, good. For a while there I was afraid that she was wearing less than I could tell because the shadow of me pulling away from this prevented me from seeing the cleavage versus the white shirt. The white shirt's awfully bright. Interesting. Oh, and there was a little comic in there. Then last, this box contains lenticular art card and acrylic bookmarks. He's cautious, but he's holding it in the... Okay, it's only very failure. Those are hearts, but they didn't immediately look like hearts. They actually look like watermelons. I'm like, holy shit, is she a Yoshi? But no, that's just me. She's in a lot of these pictures. There's some funny faces there. That could be something that might make the show entertaining. I guess we'll have to see. There's if there's a very good-natured or moderate-natured or comeuppance-natured or just stupid. And of course, I get this far and I'm like, oh wait. So I usually keep these and I try to keep them inside the boxes themselves if I can. Looks like I can. Alright, next up we've got Miss Caretaker's Sunohara-sou. Let's see if we got some sexy front door behind the sticker. Not even a little plaque saying home. So not sexy, just very plain. There's no place like dorm. Okay, well I see an A and a B. I see an English dub, 2 discs, Foundation. Is it just me, or am I not seeing special features mentioned anywhere on here? Oh, look, there's a different thing on the inside. I was just thinking that's not Kana. There we go, let me hold it up from an angle where you can see her. Yeah, the eyes are green. She does kind of have a sort of vibin' vibe to her. Or him, but I think that's a her. I'm not sure about them. They look like a young boy to me, but this show could do anything it really wants to with that. I was just trying to process if this was even the same show, because that's a little more cleavagey than it's shown so far. Not necessarily in a bad way, just in a different way. What the fuck? Yeah, this makes me think that that is a young boy having to deal with older girls who have questionable intentions. Which is kind of reminiscent of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid insofar as Quetzalcoatl and her relationship with that boy. Anyways, One Punch Man Season 2. I'd like to say I'm super excited about this, but I'm more cautiously optimistic, really. It's hard to find a place where I can get a fingernail in. Right there. Yeah, there we go. First of all, it doesn't help that I forgot how the first release was released. But this seems like this is similar to the packaging of that somehow. Oh, look. There we go. Whoa. Actually, was there stuff on the back here I wanted to read? You know what? Let's somehow slide it back on and read. That's proving to be a lot more tricky than it really should be. Okay. So I see a region A there. I mean, I don't know. It's hard enough to read Viz's DVDs and find out, oh, did they dub it or not? Especially since the assumption is the vast majority of the time should be, yeah, they dubbed it. So we have the One Punch Man, Saitama. And when I first saw this, I wasn't focusing too much, and I thought, what is Rick doing here? But that's not Rick, that's Saitama. And also, you know, Rick and Morty has done a good job of showing that as much of a badass as Rick can be, he's not the god he likes to think that he is. He can be beaten down like anybody else. Okay, I remember doing it. That's the guy with the drum beat thing. Man, these discs did not want to be in their packaging, did they? Actually, I have not seen that character that I remember of. Since these are shiny and these are not, these must be, one of these is going to be the DVDs and the other is Blu-ray. That says A and Blu-ray. So the Blu-rays have these images on them, and this would probably be the DVD because that says DVD, and it's the same as the Blu-ray, just outline version, if you can see it. Interesting. This actually goes in there like that, I guess, because Saitama needs to be peeking through. We've got cards in a much tighter plastic thing, so I guess I'll leave them in there. One Punch Man Notes Volume 2. where's the oppai shirt? I don't see the oppai shirt. Not that I expected to see it, but I decided to just be funny and stupid about it. Is that correct, or was it using this as cover? Why don't I actually take a peek, because I'm kind of curious if this would just look better. I think it kind of does. Maybe they're not really all that different at all. But I do prefer my covers. Oh, wait. There's the oppai. Huh. Whatever, if that wasn't the way it was before, well, here's my stupid change to the norm. Can't think. Anyways, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Alright, I mean, I did watch something, even though it was only the entire contents of this with my Friday friend. I know that I kind of felt like One Piece was dragging, but it's interesting because some of the way that it's dragging made me kind of think about, so like there's a standard way that a lot of shonen shows tend to drag, and it feels like it's a little more linear. Oh, first we have to fight this guy, then we have to fight this guy, and something like that. And One Piece actually had a segment where it was like that, where they were having to go from train car to train car to train car, and they could only move up like one car at a time or something sort of like that. That one felt very slow, and this one kind of feels slower, but it's not doing it in that same way. It just feels like it just keeps having different elements coming and going and stuff, and it's like, some of these things are like, yeah, we kind of know that there had to be a resolution for this, so why are you telling us in the title of an episode that there's this thing this character's actually been doing for the past 5 episodes? Other than the fact that we know that it means that they're finally going to make it relevant or something. So it's interesting because there's some churn going on, but it's interesting because from this, as a series as a whole, the churn is a little more political. And I'm not talking political like our presidential election, which, you know, is kind of actually not as bad, not as big of a shit show as I thought it was going to be. But, you know, it's still pretty bad. So that should just tell you how bad I was expecting it to be, or that I was expecting it to be worse. Anyways, the point is that inside the world of One Piece, you do have the internal politics of the pirates versus the Marines versus pirate lords, pirate emperors, world government, all that sort of political stuff, and people working on people. And it's interesting because some of it just feels like it's so. After this one, I was talking with my friend a little bit about some of the moments of One Piece that really stood out as great, and the Alabasta and Skypiea arcs were particularly notable. And, you know, I think I've mentioned this before with previous ones, where you really can't tell if the arc's going to be notable or not from where it begins. It's only the end, and it still is the case here. It's really hard to tell. But you kind of felt like, yeah, I don't know how much I want to say because I don't want to spoil it for people, but for those arcs, there was definitely a combination of the story culminating in something that felt impossible to get to, and this actually doesn't feel impossible, I guess. So that part's just going to have to get, I think, slightly weaker over time no matter what. But then there was also this intriguing other dimensionality to the stuff, and I don't mean like teleporting between dimensions, but I mean like just a completely orthogonal plane of thought. Of the show was having you think one way, but it was also doing this other thing to the side where you're like, oh yeah, that's actually kind of natural. And there's little things that it did that it didn't really call attention to that turned out to be kind of notable in the grand scheme of things. And it kind of did a world building where you're like, okay, well, we kind of aren't just building a world in terms of here's another island with its problem and here's how it kind of relates to other islands we may already know or something like that. but rather this mystique around the original premise of the show, which seems to imply that it is not as simple and straightforward as it might have seemed. And so One Piece was doing good world building in those two story arcs. And we haven't really had anything quite like that. We've had important moments that have been notable, and they've shaken up the world and they've changed things, and they're good world building, but it hasn't been that. And I'm wondering if it will get back to that, or if maybe because of the way the series has kind of evolved over time, it can't do that. But, you know, that's just kind of thinking of things from overall. From this individual one, again, it's kind of a mess, but there's some interesting things about it where it seems to be dropping some deliberate narrative hints that it then comes back later and completely throws out. And I, again, don't want to say what they are just because I don't want to spoil people, but it's kind of interesting because that could indicate that there's a level of intelligence involved where it kind of is where, oh yeah, we still don't know about this one character that a couple people have been talking about a lot. Maybe as it reveals more information about existing characters, we can divine connections, or we see these events playing out. But this is one event that it looks like a Chekhov's gun that they still haven't fired. Because there's two possibilities for that thing, and that's you know, One Piece being One Piece, if it was something somehow involved with what it seemed to directly be, it would have been explained as stuff, but it would have been explained as such, but it wasn't. And then there seemed to be this plot going on of, well, maybe somebody's double-crossing the double-crosser, and it seems not, and it's, you know, it's kind of tied to the previous thing, maybe, probably. It hasn't said it is, but it seems like it's possible, but it hasn't, and it seems to be going complete opposite directions in terms of all those thoughts. And then there's like, oh yeah, and then there's this character and that character, and you kind of think you understand a relationship with them that the show is actually implying, but didn't really tell you, but then it turns out to not be that. As far as we can tell, it might still surprise us. But yeah, interesting stuff. And they have more conflict going on, so they kind of have more things happening. You know, One Piece tends to have its periods of building up to these bigger conflicts happening all over the place. And I think the most interesting one in this DVD is Monet, the harpy girl you kind of see in the background, where, without going into detail about too much, you know, she's not the only one that they did stuff with, but I kind of feel like in terms of the creative juices that got put in, she felt a little more out of left field and interesting. Like, we have our main bad guy who's, or maybe he's our main bad guy, it's really hard to tell, and he seems pretty interesting, but then we have people, yeah, I don't know. It's all so back and forth, but I kind of felt like so far in this story arc, the creative energy put into her has been the most intriguing. You've had other interesting things, like you had those brothers, and I forgot the other name to describe them. You have this guy who keeps getting stuff stuck on his face, who's, it's hard to tell what to think about him. I'm pretty sure I'm not remembering Don Flamingo's name correctly, but we're starting to get more hints of him and stuff that are kind of intriguing, and feels to me like they could be building up to similar levels of past awesomeness, but I'm not sure yet. So, you know, overall, I just keep watching it. And it's interesting, but it is definitely one of those things where you can feel that it's a little stretched out. Anyways, you know, this week, I have to say that well, I was going to say all three of the titles, but technically I received this title this week from y'all's perspective, but everything but Inuyasha is pretty much, oh, yeah, I guess I'm kind of curious about that and want to watch it. So I'm probably curious about stuff and going to watch them. So next week might be more talk stuff. For this week, really not much else. I mean, I've done some stuff in my VR chat world, nothing that's really worth talking about here, because I just, very slowly solve little problems here and there, and once I get all the main problems solved, I might update or upload my world then. Then again, I might also want to make sure when I upload it, it's pretty close to done and perfect, which doesn't mean that there are no bugs, but rather that the main functionality that I want is there, and it is only going to be tweaked a tiny bit. So that means that I also have to add the seasonal stuff and holiday stuff that I want to add, because I want there to be holiday models and maybe a few sound effects related to some of them. Like, if you're gonna have a 4th of July or New Year's, and you need some goddamn fireworks, maybe the rationale under which you would use them would differ, but you'd still want them. And all that stuff has slight implications on the size of the final world, and I am trying to keep it underneath a certain size so that I can do very minimal things to make it supported for Quest as well. It'd be really nice if the Quest experience was very similar to the PC experience. I just, looking out for my Quest, I say homies, but I say that as if I actually use my Quest or primarily use it. But yeah, I just want to look out for them as well as I'm designing this, which I think I've done an okay job of thinking about it, but yeah. Because other than that, there's been some video game stuff, but it's mostly just Among Us and Phasmophobia. They're good things, they're fun little things. The people I played with last Tuesday was part of my normal Tuesday streaming group. They actually really enjoyed themselves, and I think they all really want to play again today, so I'm looking forward to that. But they're the only ones I've played with, and other than that, I've done some solo stuff. Some of it is just doing training to make sure I'm kind of sharpening my skills at identifying ghosts, I guess. And I say that more from the point of view of sometimes you just have to estimate, okay, this motherfucker has fingerprints, but he's nowhere near anything that can leave fingerprints, so I just have to guess that, because it can't be freezing temp or ghost orbs. Cases like that, and then I get it wrong. It's like, oh, ghost writing. Yeah, I forgot that's. So it's just tweaking a little like that. Doing a couple of missions solo, but just minimal items, being very cautious, just trying to walk out with more money than I go in with. So it's all stuff. Not really that notable stuff either. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I guess we'll just have to see what this next week is like, because everything's been nice and tiring. And considering next week is Thanksgiving, well, I already have stuff that should be arriving, so I will have an anime DVD collection update. But I think I'll try again this year to record parts of me making Thanksgiving Day dinner. Just because, with December next month, there's almost always a down week in December, and it's not a bad idea for me to, sometimes there's also 2 down weeks, and I really should have pre-ordered all of my December stuff by now, but to be honest, I haven't actually finished pre-ordering all my November stuff. But, that aside, we can kind of guess there's probably something, and it should be interesting this time, because I am going to be doing my turkey just a little bit different. See, normally I do a butterball turkey breast roast, and this time, I've always known there's a difference from when I got it wrong, but I'm doing a turkey roast. And the difference is, the turkey roast is a mix of white meat and dark meat. There's some wing meat in there alongside the white meat. And you gotta be careful with that, not for safety reasons, but because when you have dark meat involved, I think my experimentation on this suggested you really have to consider seasoning it differently. I mean, I basically didn't season it at all. I go for kind of the natural turkey flavor with some slight added apple sugary stuff. But this time I'm going to be adding a couple of other things to it. See if that adds some good flavor to it, because... And I don't know, I'm thinking some very fucking crazy stuff, but you know what, and sometimes an experiment is a fun thing, and this can be an experimental cooking video where I'm like, I'm going to try these things, and I don't know how well they will work, but let's find out. And so that's going to be my goal this year, so I can't really guarantee that there's going to be any good slow cooker turkey meat recipe. But the mashed potatoes should come out fine. The pumpkin pie should come out fine. Of course, I've already done a pumpkin pie video, so I'm probably not going to do that one again. The smoothie, not the smoothie. Smoothie. The smoothie might be worth noting, but yeah. That'll be weird just because normally I make enough for me and my parents. And I'll be doing the same thing just because the quantities are kind of hard to change for this, but... And I say all this, and maybe just like last year, I will start recording it because it's really easy to record the beginning and the middle of the day stuff, but then when it gets down to the last hour to 30 minutes, that's when things get complicated because you're having to do so many different things at the same time that you just can't record while you're doing it. So I'll have to find out, but those are my plans. I guess we'll find out. Guess the other possibility is firing up Shantae and the Seven Sirens. You know, the Shantae series, I wouldn't call them like spectacular games per se. I've always found that every game seems to have some sort of design annoyance that makes it harder to play than I would want it to be. And I don't mean like difficulty hard, but more like, yeah, what is this little mini game you're suddenly having me do? This is longer than I would want to spend doing this. It's not the kind of platforming. It's kind of, its design is not counterintuitive, but not quite right. And I kind of expect the same out of Seven Sirens here, but you know, on the flip side, you know, it's not necessarily bad. It's just things that prevent it from going, oh, that was a very satisfying experience. This game was taking me on a journey. I guess that's the thing. I'm a big fan of games that take you on journeys, and journeys aren't, here's Pac-Man, here's keep going levels. You know, there's hard games like that, and people can like hard games where the point is to be hard, but I like to be taken on journeys, which pretty much means I like my games to be more stories, which is why Legend of Zelda games tend to be pretty good, because, you know, they can be over easy sometimes for sure, but then, you know, they're also telling you a story that has mixed degrees of successfulness, but, you know, that tends to be what I'm looking for. Shantae, you know, isn't very strong in that department, but it is a little leaning in that department, I would say. I think they just lost in their own platforming sometimes. But, you know, here I am babbling, and I said I implied I was going to end this video who knows how long ago, so I should probably wrap it up and say, y'all, have a nice week.